Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Yesterday we just briefly mentioned the hardening of Pharaoh's heart and didn't really make a whole lot of comment on exactly how it was that Pharaoh's heart was hardened. And I thought perhaps today we would talk a little bit more about that. It is my view that God hardened Pharaoh's heart not by reaching down in his heart and actually hardening it directly, but that God hardened Pharaoh's heart through making the circumstances such that Pharaoh's heart would be hardened. Much like we would say, I made so and so angry. It doesn't mean that you went in and literally pushed a button in their heart that made them angry, but that you did certain things that led to them becoming angry. And that's what I believe is going on here with Pharaoh. God is hardening his heart, but at the same time, we read in the text that Pharaoh hardens his heart. And so God is hardening his heart through the way that he's dealing with Pharaoh, but ultimately it's Pharaoh who is hardening his heart as a response to the way God is dealing with him. And one of the ways that we see God doing this is by allowing a plague to go away before Pharaoh lets the people go. We see this time and time again. A plague will come, such as the hail that we read about today, and Pharaoh will agree, okay, I'll let the people go. And then Moses prays, and that plague will go away. In that particular case, the hail went away, and then Pharaoh hardens his heart again. Or it might be in connection to a plague that was just temporary in nature, like the killing of the livestock. Once it happened, it was done. And that one didn't really provoke him as much to let the people go as perhaps some of the more ongoing plagues. And so we can see that Pharaoh's heart was hardened because the hardship would come to an end. And as soon as things somewhat returned back to normal, Pharaoh would harden his heart and once again dig his heels in the ground and say, I will not let the people go. And as we think about this, we could be really hard on Pharaoh and really criticize him for the way that he's responding to God in this situation. And rightly so. He is definitely in the wrong for doing this. But if we look in our own lives, it might be the case that we could find a little bit of that in our own heart. That is, when times are tough, when times are difficult, when hardships comes in, and in the plagues, you find all different types of hardships, inconveniences, physical ailments, even the loss of loved ones, weather conditions. There's all type of ways in which the people went through hard times through these plagues. And sometimes we enter into these various sorts of hard times as well. And when we go through them, our hearts are softened to God. We look to the Lord and we seek his help. Perhaps if we've been rebellious against the Lord, we make a commitment to not do those things anymore, especially if our hardships are directly related to some type of sin that we're doing. And we will oftentimes begin to seek the Lord and turn back to him and turn away from sin during those hard times. But as soon as the weather clears, as soon as things get a little bit easier, as soon as our financial struggles perhaps get ironed out some, or whatever it is that it is plaguing us, excuse the pun, but whatever it is that's plaguing us, whatever it is that is giving us a hard time, as soon as that ceases and things somewhat turn back to normal, if we're not careful, we can allow our hearts to become hardened against God, maybe even without knowing it. Our prayers become more sparse. We cease seeking the Lord as much. We once again begin to rely on our own selves and our own abilities and our own strength. We begin to draw away from the Lord and become more and more enamored by the world and other things. And as the good times begin to settle in, we begin to drift from the Lord, and our hearts become callous, and we can become even desensitized to some of the sins that we're committing, and we just basically begin to drift. And so as we read about Pharaoh, we should learn to guard our own hearts from that, to realize that, the God that we sought in the storm, the God that we were seeking in those hardships and trials, we should still be seeking, and we should still be longing for and drawing close to, even when it's bright and sunny outside, and even when the storm ceases, even when the hardship is over. We should still be seeking the Lord and putting him first, and allowing him to have sovereignty over our lives. Otherwise, we will drift, and maybe even drift in such a subtle way that we don't even realize it. So we should be warned by this story by Pharaoh. Yes, he's wrong in what he's doing. We can recognize that, but at the same time, we should be guarded ourselves and recognize that we could fall into the same trap as he. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.